We are here with Richard Susskind here at the end of his keynote speech at ABA Tech Show. Now, Richard, when did you first start? I know you've talked about all these social networking tools. When did you first get exposed to them? When did you first start using them?
Is your microphone working?
It is indeed.
Excellent. Always a good thing to mention.
That's exactly what I was testing out.
Excellent. Well, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, but I was introduced to it through my children. That was my first exposure. As I think I said in the talk, actually I was seeing one of my sons using it for organising some things at school, made me think, actually, this is not simply a plaything of the youth, this is something that could fundamentally affect the way lawyers and clients communicate with one another and collaborate.
Now, the story you told about him, he was using it from a more, non-conventional, unconventional approach. Have you found that has taken off, or are more people that you encounter still using it for the social aspect than the organizational?
I think it hasn't taken off yet. The reality is that, in a sense, it hasn't clicked. People who are, particularly young people, young lawyers, for example, if you look in many law firms, about half the number of lawyers in law firms are Facebook users. None of them are using it for work purposes. There's a bit of a disconnect in their mind between what they use as a tool for socializing and the kind of tools they use at work. And part of my work is to try and bridge that gap and to say, actually, some of the features of Facebook are precisely the features you need to collaborate with one another, to maintain contact with clients, and actually to be a lawyer working in an online world.
Now, which of these social networking tools are your favorites, or do you use the most frequently?
As it happens, the only major one I use is Facebook. But many people, friends and colleagues, use LinkedIn. I'm not sure. I also do use. And it's a slightly different category, Legal On-Ramp, which you may be familiar with. Mm-hmm. Legal On-Ramp, which is developed in California, is probably the first and only example of a combination of Wikipedia and Facebook for lawyers. And it's not just private law firms, it's general counsel and in-house lawyers as well. But the generic one's the only one I use is Facebook, and the legal one I use is Legal On-Ramp. I'm very limited in my time.
That's interesting that you use Facebook more than LinkedIn. You're the only person I've ever heard say that. Now, lastly,
I can explain that.
Oh yeah, please do.
I just wanted to experiment, and I didn't simply want to experiment in a business context. I wanted to understand what it was like to socialize. And one of the most interesting things actually has been regaining contact with a whole bunch of people around the world with whom I'd lost contact. Some of them, ironically, have given rise to work for me as well. But I thought my most generic exposure to social networking should be through a generic system like Facebook rather than a more restricted business system. Not to say anything against LinkedIn, which is a great system, it's just it wasn't. I thought I'll try one for a couple of years, and that was the one that made the cut. Having said all of that, I'll probably get on LinkedIn quite quickly now. and the temptation to tweet and Twitter is overwhelming. But again, I suspect like others, it's a question of just balancing your information flow. One of the things that really interests me just now is the overwhelming amount of email that lawyers get. And when you speak to lawyers about social networking, about Twitter, about other forms of communicating, their immediate reaction is, I already am overwhelmed. So one of a likely future line of research for me is how we can actually manage and control the overwhelming amount of communication, which includes social networking as well as conventional email.
Mm-hmm. Now, lastly, and changing gears entirely, I'm interested to know, what are you reading right now? What are you in the process of reading?
I'm reading just now. Are you talking fiction or non-fiction?
Either way.
Fiction just now. I'm very keen on fiction, thrillers in fact. I'm reading a book, and I probably can't remember the guy's name. His surname is Kellerman, and his mother is Faye Kellerman, who's also an author. And it's a book called The Brutal Art, I think. And it's a great thriller. And I read a lot of thrillers. And I read a lot of books on technology also. Does that satisfy your curiosity?
Certainly does. Thanks a lot for your time, Richard. We appreciate it. Excellent speech today, and good luck with everything.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.